What it is, my gamers, welcome to another installment of Keyboards and Consoles. My name's Nikolai, and for those of you who don't know, I review underrated or unknown games you may not have heard of. Today I'm going to tell you all about a game in which I could not get enough of for quite a while. The game is none other than Hell Let Loose. Hell Let Loose was originally developed by Black Matter and released in 2019 on PC and released on next-gen consoles in October of 2021. Hell Let Loose is an immersive first-person shooter which takes place during the Second World War. Hell Let Loose is very different from shooters like COD or Halo. Hell Let Loose is more comparable to Battlefield, yet the two games are extremely different. The main question the game proposes is, what if Battlefield was a true tactical shooter? Now, if you want a true tactical shooter, this is not exactly the game for you. If you want something a bit more tactical than Battlefield, but not as complex as Arma, then this is the game. Now, Hell Let Loose, as I said, is comparable to Battlefield, the good ones anyway, in the sense that it is far more tactical than your average arcade run-and-gun COD or Halo. The game sees teams of 50 fighting against each other on massive maps which are based on historical battles fought in the Second World War. Besides the massive player counts and maps, the game is extremely tactical. Headshots are one-shot kills. When you're shot, you slowly bleed out until you're dead or bandaged. You can build up fortifications anywhere as long as you have supplies, along with proxy, squad, and command voice chats for planning or just simple banter. Now, before loading into a match, there's a lot you should be aware of. There are a multitude of classes you can choose from, all of which perform differently and have different purposes. My personal favorite is the Machine Gunner, simply because of the iconic MG42. Each class can also be leveled up. Upon reaching a certain level with each class, a new version will be unlocked. These versions tend to come with different weapons, equipment, or even new playstyles. Despite there only being 2 game modes, each has a completely different style of play. The first is Warfare. Warfare sees the 2 teams going head-to-head, running at each other in order to push each other back and take over each sector of the map. The second is Offensive. This mode sees one team defending and the other attacking. Unlike Warfare, once the defending team loses a sector, they cannot go take it back. Hell Let Loose also keeps its historical ties with its factions, weapons, and equipment. Unlike another World War II game which was recently released, you actually are told whether or not you're on the Axis or Allies rather than my team and enemy team.
You remember when my team fought the enemy team?
My team, enemy team. Those are the factions.
On console, the only factions are the United States and Nazi Germany. On PC, you can play as the Soviets. Each faction has equipment represented to said faction. The US has access to the iconic Thompson, BAR, and M1 Garand. The Germans have access to the MG42, MP40, and Gewehr. The Russians have access to the DP27, PPSH, and Mosin Nagant. Each faction also has their own respective equipment, uniform, and vehicles. With each faction having their respective gear and being unable to use anything beyond what they've been assigned, how you play is pivotal to how well you do. Obviously, you can't just run around with a grease gun and expect to rack up the kills. The game is far more in-depth. You are able to die in about 1 to 2 shots depending on the firearm. If you have a bolt action, chances are you may not win a direct firefight with someone who's posted up with an LMG. You may need to play extremely conservative and wait for an opening. In most cases, this can be if someone is crossing the road or you just see someone creeping through the forest in an attempt to get a flank. You also must work with your team in order to get anything done. The game is extremely team-oriented. Each team has multiple squad leaders, which only one may be allowed per squad, and each team has one commander. The commander communicates directly with the squad leaders to give orders to help out squads who may need supplies or an airstrike on the enemy position. Communication is key in Hell Let Loose. Communication is also how you get revived, get ammo, fire support, and so much more. Now, as much as I love just how tactical this game is, there are plenty of issues I have with the game. The first being the long respawn times. After you die, you have the choice to wait to be revived or just go back to the spawn selection screen. Now, depending on how close the spawn location is to the objective, depends on how long the spawn timer is. For example, spawn points close to the objective could be around a minute, whereas ones by the HQ are only a few seconds. Seeing as games can go on for at most 90 minutes, the spawn delay does not mean a whole lot in the grand scheme. However, it certainly is annoying. Another issue I have is just how long the matches can be. There are times where I'll be in a longer match and become so bored with what is happening because, well, at that point, not much is happening. I really only reached this point after about an hour in, and the game is just at a standstill. Neither side is gaining an advantage, and it just becomes lame. The last and biggest issue I have with the game is that it's just become kind of boring now. On console, not much has been added since release. On PC, you have access to much more than what is available on consoles, such as the Soviet army and maps and weapons seen in the Eastern Front. There are plans to eventually have the console catch up to PC this year. However, many are speculating this may take longer due to Black Matter selling the IP to Team 17, the game's publisher. I certainly hope the updates come within this year because not only does the roadmap look impressive, but there's also no actual dates to expect the content, and the game certainly needs new content if it wishes to keep its base. If you do plan to get the game on console, I would recommend waiting until more is released and more players come back to the game. Overall, Hell Let Loose is a fantastic game for those into a more hardcore tactical shooter such as Squad, Postscriptum, or Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, all the while not being as complex as games like Arma. Despite being more tactical than Call of Duty or Battlefield, it is still a healthy mix of tactical and arcade enough that someone used to playing Battlefield or COD could easily understand what's going on after a game or two. The game is also enjoyable for history buffs such as myself because everything seems to be historically accurate, from the weapons to the vehicles to the equipment. Everything simply makes sense. It feels like it's actually a World War II game and not some action hero adventure with washed characters who nobody cares for.
There is an impressive lack of personality and charm within the operators, announcers, and style of the game. This is the most generic World War II game you have ever played.
Hell Let Loose is available on Steam, Windows, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S for about $40. Sorry to those on last-gen consoles because there are currently no plans to bring the game to last-gen. So what do you think? Do you have what it takes to brave the beaches of Utah and Omaha? Will you get the game? If you already have it, do you enjoy it? Either way, let me know by tweeting me at ZTV Goofing Off using the hashtag keyboards and consoles. As always, my name's Nikolai, and thanks for watching.